Step into the damp, scratchy shoes of a medieval villager just trying to survive another day in the plague years. You wake not to the gentle chirping of birds, but to the slow, solemn tolling of the church bell. One heavy clang for every soul lost overnight. The air smells like wet hay, wood smoke, and something faintly rotten, like forgotten meat left too close to the hearth. Outside your wattle and daub hut, the world is already moving in hushed, hurried steps. Let's be real, you probably wouldn't survive this. Modern you would last maybe 2 days before either starving, catching the plague, or getting trampled by panicked sheep. But hey, that's why we're just visiting, right? So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And hey, drop a comment below. Where in the world are you listening tonight? What's the local time? Are you currently bundled up in a blanket fort, or braving this tale in broad daylight? Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. Your eyes snap open before sunrise, not because you're well-rested, you're never well-rested, but because the straw-filled sack you call a mattress has all the comfort of a pile of rocks. The thin wool blanket does little against the morning chill, and your nightshirt, scratchy, unwashed, and possibly home to at least one flea, itches like it's personally offended by your skin. You sit up, rubbing your face, and immediately regret it. Your fingers brush against a suspicious bump on your neck. Is that a? No, 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 no. It's just a bug bite. Probably. Maybe. You swallow hard and decide to ignore it for now. Denial is a perfectly valid survival strategy. Outside, the village stays in slow motion. The usual bustle of morning chores is muted, replaced by the occasional cough from a nearby hut and the distant, rhythmic thud of a spade hitting dirt. Gravediggers start early these days. The smell of burning herbs, rosemary, thyme, sage, hangs thick in the air. The local wise woman swears it keeps the bad air away, though you've noticed she still wears a cloth over her nose when she walks past the burial pits. You shuffle to the door, bare feet pressing into the packed earth floor, and push it open just enough to peek outside. The sky is a dull gray, the kind of dawn that feels less like a new beginning and more like the world forgot to end last night. A cart creaks by, piled with wrapped shapes that definitely aren't just sacks of grain. The driver doesn't meet your eyes. Breakfast is a chunk of yesterday's bread, hard enough to chip a tooth on, and a cup of weak ale that tastes like someone whispered the word hops near the barrel. You chew slowly, listening to the muffled sobs from the house next door. So it was their youngest last night. You make the sign of the cross, more out of habit than faith. A chicken pecks at the dirt near your feet, blissfully unaware that it might be dinner or a funeral offering by sundown. You envy its ignorance. You scratch your ribs for the 10th time this morning, glaring down at your nightshirt like it's betrayed you. Which, to be fair, it has. Medieval fashion is a crime against comfort. This thing is woven so roughly, you half suspect it was made by angry sheep exacting revenge. And the color? A faded, muddy brown that looks like it's been dragged through every puddle in the village. Because it probably has. You peel it off over your head, wincing as the fabric catches on your A. Note to self, invent the t-shirt. Get rich. Die slightly less itchy. The cold morning air nips at your bare skin, and you make a mental list of today's priorities. Don't die of plague. Don't die of fleas. Maybe find a slightly less cursed outfit. Your wardrobe consists of exactly 2 tunics, 1 pair of hose, which are somehow both too tight and too loose at the same time, and a belt that's mostly just for show. You grab the least stained tunic, a faded green that makes you look like a half-rotten lettuce, and pull it on. The fabric smells like wood smoke and you, which is not great. When was the last time you bathed? Don't answer that. Outside, the village is still moving in slow motion. A few villagers shuffle past, their faces wrapped in cloth like they think it'll help. Spoiler, it won't. One woman clutches a bundle of dried lavender like a holy relic, holding it to her nose as she walks. You nod at her. She doesn't nod back. Fair. You do look like a suspiciously healthy person, which is basically a red flag these days. You step into the street, immediately regretting it as your bare foot lands in something wet and suspicious. Mud. Probably mud. Let's go with mud. The ground is uneven, littered with ruts from cartwheels and the occasional stray chicken. A dog trots past, gnawing on something that might be a bone or part of a bone. You decide not to investigate. From somewhere nearby, a child's voice pipes up, "Ring around the rosy," a pocket full of posies. You freeze. Ashes, ashes, we all fall down. A chorus of giggles follows. Kids are terrifying in every century. You shake it off and keep walking, past the blacksmiths, closed, the bakers, also closed, and the tavern, somehow still open, because ale is the real cure. Your stomach growls. Breakfast was not enough. Then you see it. The apothecary's shop, its door propped open with a rock. A handwritten sign out front reads, "Plague remedies, guaranteed, results not guaranteed." Well, that's definitely not a scam. The moment you step inside the apothecary's dim, cluttered shop, your nose is assaulted by a riot of smells. Dried herbs hanging from the ceiling, bitter roots piled in baskets, and something alarmingly like rotting meat stewing in a corner pot. You don't ask. You never ask. The apothecary himself, a wiry man with a beard that looks like it's hiding secrets, barely glances up from grinding something suspiciously glittery in his mortar. "Ah," he says, squinting at you. "You're not dead yet. Good start." You open your mouth to reply, but he cuts you off with a raised finger. Before you speak, are you here for prevention or desperation? Prevention. Smart lad. He nods approvingly and rummages under the counter before slamming down a small pouch. Wear this around your neck. Contains dried toad, powdered sapphire, and a hint of cinnamon to make it less depressing. You poke the pouch. It crunches ominously. Does it work? He shrugs. Do you have the plague? Not yet. Then obviously it works. You sigh and hand over a few coins. Medieval healthcare, where the placebo effect might just be your best shot. As you turn to leave, he calls after you, and if you start coughing, come back. I've got a fantastic leech discount this week. Outside, the village is waking up in half-hearted spirits. A few market stalls are open, though the selection is bleak, wilted greens, a sad-looking wheel of cheese, and a single scrawny chicken priced like it's made of gold. You grab a loaf of bread from a hunched old woman who doesn't meet your eyes as she takes your coin. Either she's deeply suspicious or just really tired of bread-based commerce. You tee off a chunk and chew. It's stale. It's always stale. But at least it's not moldy stale, which these days counts as a win. As you eat, you watch a group of men in long, hooded robes sweep through the square, their faces hidden behind grotesque beaked masks. The local plague doctors. Because nothing says I'm here to help like dressing like a nightmare crow. They move in silence, pausing now and then to peer at someone a little too closely before moving on. One of them stops, tilts his head at you, and then sneezes violently into his glove. Well, that's reassuring. You toss the rest of your bread to a stray dog, asterisk who sniffs it, then gives you a look like asterisk really, mate. Asterisk asterisk, and decide it's time to check on the one place that's always got gossip, the village well. The village well isn't just a place to draw water anymore. It's the medieval equivalent of a doom-scrolling forum, where neighbors gather to swap rumors between gulps of questionable hydration. You sidle up just in time to catch the tail end of a heated debate between old Thomas, who smells like onions and bad decisions, and widow Margot, who may or may not be a witch, depending on who you ask and how much ale they've had. And I'm telling you, it's the Jews poisoning the wells. Thomas spits into the dirt for emphasis. Margot rolls her eyes so hard you worry they'll stick. Oh please, if the Jews had magic well-poisoning powers, do you really think they'd still be putting up with you? Asterisk R, 14th century logic. When in doubt, blame the nearest minority. Some things never changed at asterisk. You lower your bucket, trying to look inconspicuous, but Margot's sharp eyes lock onto you. You, healthy-looking idiot. What do you think's causing the plague? The correct answer is Yersinia pestis transmitted by fleas on rats. But since that won't be discovered for another 600 years, you improvise. Bad luck. She jabs a bony finger at Thomas. See, even the village simpleton knows it's not a conspiracy. Thanks, Margot. As the bucket resurfaces, you notice the water has a suspicious oily sheen. Thomas notices too. That's the poison, he hisses. Margot snorts. No, you twit. That's because Father Anselm blessed it with holy oil again, which, incidentally, also won't stop the plague. You take a cautious sip. It tastes like iron and regret. Then, a commotion. A traveling merchant in garish robes bursts into the square, waving a glass vial like it's the Holy Grail. Behold, he booms, the only proven cure for the pestilence, distilled from the tears of angels and only 20 silver pennies. The crowd murmurs. The liquid inside is an alarming shade of green. Margot leans over and whispers, "Last week he was selling that as Dragon's Blood Hair Tonic." You watch as 3 desperate villagers hand over their life savings. The real plague. Capitalism. The merchant's booming voice fades behind you as you slip away from the well, leaving the villagers to their questionable purchases. The market square sprawls ahead, but it's a ghost of what it once was. Stalls that used to overflow with wheels of cheese, bolts of vibrant fabric, and baskets of fresh fish now display a sad assortment of wilted turnips, half-empty sacks of grain, and, inexplicably, an entire table dedicated to carved wooden frogs. Are frogs the new currency? Did you miss a memo? A gaunt-faced farmer eyes you from behind his meager pile of onions. 2 for a penny, he croaks, or 1 for a prayer. You hesitate. The onions look like they've been through the plague themselves, shriveled, sprouting questionable hairs. But hunger wins. You hand over a penny and tuck the lesser of the 2 evils into your pouch. Try not to think about how it squishes slightly. Future use problem. Nearby, a cobbler sits alone at his stall, surrounded by unsold shoes. Fine leather, he calls half-heartedly to no one in particular. Keep death at bay, from the ankles up. You pause. Do people not need shoes anymore? He shrugs. Less feet to fit these days. Dark, even for hay. You're about to retreat when a flash of color catches your eye. A lone spice merchant stall. Its vibrant powders a shocking contrast to the drab despair around it. Saffron the color of liquid gold, piles of peppercorns like tiny planets, cinnamon sticks stacked like fairy tale towers. The merchant, a wiry woman with henna-stained fingers, grins at your stunned expression. "What's the matter?" she teases. "Never seen luxury before." You gesture vaguely at the apocalyptic vibe of the rest of the market. Bit of an odd time for saffron, isn't it? She leans in conspiratorially. Exactly when people need it most. The rich still eat, my friend. And the dying. She taps a barrel of nutmeg. Some prefer to go out tasting heaven. A shiver runs down your spine as you notice the real customers, servants in fine livery, discreetly loading up on spices while avoiding eye contact with the starving. Then, a scream slices through the air. You spin around to see a woman backing away from a cloth merchant stall, pointing at a bolt of fabric. It moved. The crowd freezes. The merchant pales. With a rustle, a fat brown rat tumbles out from between the folds of linen, hits the ground with a thud, and scampers off, leaving behind a trail of panicked villagers and one very ruined business model. And the real kicker, that rat's probably got better survival odds than any of us. The market erupts into chaos. Stools overturn, a sack of grain bursts open, and somewhere in the fray, a woman starts wailing about divine punishment. You stand frozen, watching the rat zigzag through the crowd with the confidence of a creature that knows it's already won. It disappears into a gap between two buildings, its tail flicking one last time like a mocking wave. Congratulations. You just witnessed patient zero. Around you, villagers make the sign of the cross, clutch their amulets. In the case of one particularly enterprising boy, starts selling rat-proof charms made of twigs for a halfpenny each. You consider telling them all that the real danger isn't the rat itself, but the fleas it carries. Then you remember, they'd think you insane. They'd probably burn you instead of the rat. You also don't know what a flea actually looks like. So you keep quiet. The cloth merchant, now thoroughly ruined, kicks his overturned stall. That's the third time this week. His neighbor, a rope maker with a spectacularly unhelpful attitude, shrugs. Maybe stop storing your wares next to a pile of rotting cabbage. It was luxury linen. Was being the operative word. You edge away from the argument, stepping over a discarded wooden frog. Still no explanation for those, when a sharp tug on your sleeve nearly sends you into combat mode. It's just a child, a grubber-faced girl of maybe 6, holding out a fistful of wilted flowers. "Posies for your pocket," she chirps. "Keeps the bad air away." You blink. "Kid, I don't think. Only a farthing." She beams, revealing a gap where her front tooth should be. And I throw in a free rhyme about death. Medieval child labor, now with 100% more existential dread. You hand over the coin just to escape. The posies crumble instantly in your grip, leaving your palm smeared with pollen and guilt. Then, a new scent cuts through the usual odors of doubt and despair, roasting meat. Your stomach growls like a feral beast. Following the smell leads you to a smoky fire pit where a skewed rabbit turns over the flames. The cook, a grizzled hunter with a face like a dried apple, eyes you. "2 pennies," he says. "And I don't mean the wooden ones your cousin carves." You're about to pay when you notice the other skews on the fire. Smaller, curved. Those aren't rabbits. You retreat from the unsettling barbecue, clutching your sad onion like a talisman, and find yourself drawn back to the well. Not for water. You've seen enough questionable liquids today, but for information. The crowd has thinned, leaving only the most dedicated gossips huddled in tight circles like conspiratorial crows. Widow Margot spots you immediately. Back so soon? Catch the plague yet? Not unless it's transmitted by bad life choices, you mutter, scuffing your foot against the well's mossy stones. She cackles and elbows old Thomas, who's busy sniffing a dubious-looking mushroom. Told you this one's got spirit. Thomas squints at you. You ask me. The real problem's the newfangled comets. He jabs a finger skyward. Saw one last week, all fire alike. Heaven's clearly pissed. Asterisk I yes, the 14th century equivalent of blaming 5G. Asterisk. A nervous woman in a stained wimple leans in. My cousin in Marseille says they are flagellants now. Holy men whipping themselves in the streets to atone for our sins. Margot snorts. Oh good, that'll help. Nothing stops disease like open wounds and shared blood spatter. You open your mouth to point out the obvious flaw in this plan, when a commotion erupts at the edge of the square. A group of men in filthy tunics drags a kicking, screaming figure toward the well. We found one, their leader bellows. A well poisoner. The accused is a teenage boy, terrified, snot-nosed, and very much not a criminal mastermind. He wails as they shove him to his knees. I was just thirsty. Margot sighs. Not this again. The mob leader brandishes a rusty spoon like it's damning evidence. Then explain this in your pocket. It's my lunch spoon. In fairness, it is suspicious to carry cutlery in 1348. Very serial killer vibes. You watch, stomach sinking, as the villagers work themselves into a frenzy. Stones are gathered. The priest is summoned. The boy sobs about his mother's stew. Then, a miracle. A donkey in a nearby alley brays loudly, startling the mob long enough for the kid to wrench free and bolt. The crowd hesitates, torn between justice and the fact that chasing someone is work. Margot seizes the moment. Oh look, a rat, she shrieks, pointing randomly. Chaos ensues. You slip away as the villagers trip over each other, their bloodlust momentarily redirected toward an imaginary rodent. Behind you, Margot winks. Medieval Karen just saved a life. Never thought you'd see the day. The distant clang of the church bell reminds you it's nearly midday, or at least what passes for midday in a world where time is measured in how many people died before lunch. You wander toward the edge of the village, where the land slopes into a hollow that's become far too popular lately. The gravedigger doesn't even look up as you approach. His knee-deep in a fresh pit, his shirt soaked through with sweat, his arms moving in the steady, mechanical rhythm of someone who's resigned to the fact that today's shovel work is tomorrow's job security. A pile of limes sits off to the side, waiting to do its grim, disinfectant duty. You clear your throat. He pauses, squints at you, then goes back to digging. You here to yell at me about spacing? Because I've got news. We ran out of 6 feet apart around the time the priest stopped giving last rites. Fair. The pits are more mass than grave these days. A cart creaks up the path, laden with its grim cargo. The driver, a boy no older than 12, looks eerily calm as he helps unload the wrapped shapes. The gravedigger gestures to a half-filled trench. Just stack 'em gentle-like. We'll cover 'em when this row's done. You watch as the boy arranges the bodies with the detached efficiency of someone who's already seen too much. One bundle slips, a pale hand lolling out. And then you see it. A wedding ring. Suddenly, the itch on your neck feels very warm. The gravedigger notices your stare and sighs. Yeah, I stopped noticing those around noon. He leans on his shovel, suddenly looking every one of his 40 years plus another 20 he didn't earn. You know what the worst part is? The sound. Lime on flesh. Hisses like it's alive. The boy pipes up. Father says it's the demons leaving. The gravedigger spits. Father's an idiot. It's just chemistry. Scholarly debate of the day. Is post-mortem gas buildup a sign of demonic activity or just really bad tacos? You should leave. You know you should leave. But morbid curiosity roots you in place as the gravedigger fishes something from his pocket, a dented flask. He takes a swig, offers it to you. It smells like paint thinner and poor decisions. You decline. He shrugs. Suit yourself. But fair warning, digging grave sober is way worse. The gravedigger's flask still glints in your mind as you trudge back toward the village center. The sun now high enough to bake the stench of damp earth and despair into something truly artisanal. Your stomach growls, part hunger, part protest at the thought of eating anything in this germ-ridden hellscape. The tavern's door hangs ajar, a chalkboard outside advertising today's special. Stew, probably. Inside, the air is thick with smoke, sweat, and the unmistakable musk of people who've given up on bathing until the apocalypse blows over. A handful of villagers huddle over bowls, their spoons moving with the enthusiasm of condemned men eating their last meal. Which, statistically, some of them are. The barkeep, a mountain of a man with a beard that could house a family of squirrels, nods at you. Stew's got meat today. You eye the murky liquid simmering in the cauldron. What kind of meat? He grins, revealing a gold tooth. The kind that didn't run fast enough. Fantastic. Scroting is protein. You slide onto a bench just as a bowl thunks down in front of you. The stew is a grayish-brown, with chunks of something bobbing like icebergs in a dubious sea. A lone carrot floats past, looking as surprised as you are. Across the table, a red-faced farmer slurps loudly. Ain't bad, he offers. Tastes better than my wife's. His companion, a weedy man with a cough that sounds like a failing engine, nods. Ain't said much since she died, though. Dark humor, the original coping mechanism. You take a cautious bite. It's salty and chewy, and definitely not chicken. Is that a tendon? The farmer leans in. Heard the miller's cat went missing yesterday. You freeze mid-chew. The barkeep chuckles. Relax. It's mutton. Maybe. The weedy man coughs into his stew. Mutton. Mutton. Who's got the mutton? A hush falls over the room as the door bangs open. A hooded figure stands silhouetted in the light. One of the beaked plague doctors, his mask turned toward you like a specter's gaze. The barkeep sighs. We just cleaned the floors, Doc. The doctor doesn't move, just points at the coughing man. Him. Cue record scratch. The weedy man pales. I just ate something funny. The tavern empties in seconds. You're left holding a spoonful of possibly cat stew, watching as the doctor advances. Pro tip: never trust a lunch that comes with a side of quarantine. The tavern erupts into chaos as the plague doctor's gloved finger remains fixed on the coughing man. Benches topple, bowls shatter, and somewhere in the frenzy, the barkeep vaults over the counter with the agility of a man who's practiced this exact escape route. You're swept up in the stampede, stumbling out into the blinding daylight just as the door slams shut behind you, with a weedy man still inside. A collective gasp ripples through the crowd that's gathered outside. The plague doctor's voice booms through the shuttered windows. Quarantine in effect. By order of the Baron. Translation: enjoy your new coffin, sir. You back away, half expecting the building to burst into flames, a popular containment strategy, when the church bell begins to toll. Not its usual slow dirge, but a frantic, staccato clanging. Old Thomas grabs your arm. Sermon's starting. He wheezes, dragging you toward the stone chapel. Father Anselm's got news from God. Spoiler, it's not a thank you note. The chapel is packed, the air thick with incense and the sour tang of unwashed bodies pressed too close together. Ironic, given the circumstances. At the pulpit, Father Anselm, a man who's somehow both gaunt and jowly, raises his arms. The crowd falls silent. Brethren, he thunders, the Lord has shown me the root of our suffering. He pauses dramatically. Lewdness. A confused murmur. Someone in the back coughs. Yes. Spittle flies. The dancing. The ribald songs. The French kissing of livestock. Wait, what? Just last week, I saw Goodwife Agnes bearing her ankles at the well. He slams a fist on the lectern. Is it any wonder God has struck us down? The crowd stays uncomfortably. Widow Margot mutters, pretty sure it's the rats, Padre. Father Anselm barrels on. Henceforth, all women shall cover their hair. All men shall cease whistling. A known gateway to depravity. And absolutely no one shall look at a sheep with impure thoughts. Finally, a practical solution. A hand tugs your sleeve. The grubby flower girl from earlier. She whispers, "Wanna buy a secret posy? Extra sinful. 2 pennies. You're considering it. Rebellion is the best distraction from impending doom." When a scream pieces the chapel, the weedy man from the tavern stumbles through the doors, his face slick with sweat. "Help, Emmy," he rasps, just before the plague doctor tackles him from behind. The chapel erupts into pandemonium as the plague doctor wrestles the coughing man to the floor. Father Anselm's face purples with outrage, whether at the interruption or the fact that someone dared to be sick in his holy presence. It's hard to say. "Out!" he roars, flinging holy water like he's seasoning a roast. "Take your pestilence elsewhere." The doctor hauls the man toward the door, his beaked mask turning left and right as villagers scramble out of the way. You press against the wall as they pass close enough for you to see the real horror. The weedy man's neck, now mottled with angry purple splotches. Yeah, that's not allergies. As the doors slam shut behind them, the chapel exhales, a collective gasp of relief, guilt, and thank God it's not me. Father Anselm smooths his robes, muttering about proper decorum, but the spell is broken. The crowd begins to disperse, murmuring, some crossing themselves, others already placing bets on how long the weedy man has left. You slip outside, where the afternoon sun feels too bright, like the world is mocking the gloom. Nearby, a group of children sit in a circle, clapping and singing. "Ashes, ashes, we all fall down." They collapse dramatically, giggling, then leap up to do it again. Kids adapt fast. Too fast. One of them, a boy with a dirt-smudged face, notices you watching. "Wanna play?" Play what exactly?" "Plague tag." He grins. "You it if you get cuffed on." The medieval version of cooties. You decline, hard pass, but the kids barely notice, already resetting their game. A little girl dies theatrically, complete with tongue lolling, while the others step over her to continue. Then, a sharp whistle. The children freeze. A woman in a faded blue dress marches over, snatching the smallest by the arm. "Home! Now!" The kids groan but obey, scampering off with a reluctant shuffle of youth everywhere. The woman glances at you, her eyes tired. "They don't understand," she mutters. "Do any of us?" You wander on, past the blacksmiths, still closed, past the empty stocks, even crimes taking a holiday, until you reach the one place that's always bustling, the Baron's castle gates. A line of peasants snakes toward the entrance, clutching baskets, chickens, even a scrawny goat. At the front, a guard in a rust-stained tabard inspects offerings with the enthusiasm of a DMV employee. You sidle up to a woman holding a loaf of bread. "What's all this?" She sighs. "Plague tax. Baron says is praying for us." She eyes the castle's high walls. From inside, with our food. The line inches forward at the pace of a snail with commitment issues. You watch as a farmer hands over a scrawny chicken, only for the guard to scoff and demand something worth Baron's time. The man reluctantly adds a wedge of cheese from his satchel, earning a grunt of approval. Turns out thoughts and prayers have always been pay-to-play. You're debating whether your sad onion qualifies as a tax write-off when a commotion erupts at the gates. A horseman in the Baron's colors gallops through, scattering peasants. The crowd murmurs as he dismounts, shouting for the steward. "The north road's blocked," he gasps. "Refugees from Brimford, whole town's burning." A ripple of panic. The guard abandons his post to hear more, leaving the tax line unattended. The peasants glance at each other, then, as one, bolt, vanishing into the alleys with their goods. Medieval tax evasion. Sometimes all you need is a well-timed crisis. You linger just long enough to hear the horseman add. They're saying it's the flagellants. Hundreds of them, whipping themselves raw. Claim the plague's god's wrath. The steward pales. And the Baron ordered the drawbridge raised. Says no one enters till they pass. Nobility's oldest tradition, pulling up the ladder behind them. As the castle gates clang shut, you notice movement atop the wall, a flash of rich fabric. There, between the battlements, stands the Baron himself, round, perfumed, and very alive, peering down at his subjects like they're a particularly tedious board game. Your eyes meet. He waves. Absolute. Power. Moves. You flip him a discreet medieval bird, a thumbs down. Trust me, it's scathing, and melt into the crowd. Time to see how the other half dies. The moment you're out of the Baron's sight, your hand flies to your neck, to that bump you've been ignoring all day. Is it bigger now? Is it warmer? You duck into an alley to examine it in a puddle's reflection, but the water is too murky to show anything except your own distorted face staring back, wide-eyed and increasingly unhinged. Congratulations. You've reached the "is this a bug bite or the Black Death" stage of pandemic living. A rustling sound makes you whirl around. A rat? A flea? Just a stray cat, scrawny and battle-scarred, licking its paw with the smugness of a creature that knows it's not currently on a skew. It blinks at you slowly, then saunters off, tail high. Cats, still the only winners in human history. You take a shaky breath. Okay, rational thoughts. Maybe it's just a pimple. Maybe you scratched yourself in your sleep. Maybe a cough tears from your throat. Oh no, it's probably nothing. Probably. But your pulse is now hammering loud enough to drown out the church bells. You need a second opinion, preferably from someone who won't immediately set you on fire. Widow Margot's hut sits at the edge of the village, half hidden by overgrown herbs. You knock 3 times before the door creaks open, revealing her holding a knife and what looks like a severed chicken foot. "You again," she says. "Here to accuse me of witchcraft before or after I check your symptoms." Direct. You appreciate that. She drags you inside, muttering about jumpy idiots, and pokes at your neck with fingers that smell like garlic and grave dirt. HM. HM what? HM good. HM start digging my grave. She smacks your shoulder. Relax. It's a boil. Nasty, but not plague nasty. She rummages in a jar of greenish paste. Sit. I'll lance it. Medieval WBMD just prescribed stab the fear away. Fair enough. As she works, you notice the hut's oddities, dried toads hanging from the ceiling, a bowl of teeth on the shelf, a broom in the corner that definitely wasn't just for sweeping. You are a witch, you blurt. She grins, showing off a gold canine. Took you long enough. The knife flashes. Pain. Then, relief. Margot bandages you up with a scrap of linen. There. Now piss off before someone sees you, hey. You stand, dizzy with gratitude, or maybe blood loss, when she adds, oh, and avoid the baker's wife. That one's got the real thing. Well, that's tomorrow's problem. Boyle successfully stabbed into submission. You step back into the fading afternoon light with a spring in your step and a throbbing pain in your neck. But let's focus on the positives. The village seems almost peaceful now, if you ignore the occasional wail from a nearby house or the distant thump of a body being tossed into a cart. Perspective is everything. You're debating whether to risk another tavern visit. Stew is still off the menu, when a commotion near the church catches your attention. A monk in mud-spattered robes stands atop a wooden crate, waving a vial of murky liquid like it's the last lifeboat on the Titanic. Behold, he booms, the waters of St. Aldrich's sacred spring, blessed by angels, carried by doves, and guaranteed to ward off pestilence. The crowd murmurs. You squint at the vial. The liquid inside looks suspiciously like the puddle you just checked your neck bump in. A gaunt woman steps forward. How much? For you, sister. The monk clutches his chest like he's about to weep from generosity. A mere 5 silver pennies. Ah, religion. The original subscription service. She hands over the coins with trembling fingers. The monk makes a show of sprinkling the holy water on her forehead. And immediately a pigeon overhead lets loose. Splat! Right in her eye. The crowd gasps. The monk doesn't miss a beat, a sign. The heavens themselves anoint you. Smooth. Real smooth. You're about to walk away when someone tugs your sleeve. The little flower girl again, now with a new sales pitch. She holds up a wilted daisy. 1 penny for a real miracle. You sigh. Kid, I highly doubt. She leans in. It's not for you. It's for her. She points to the baker's wife, who's shuffling down the street with a glassy-eyed look of someone who won't see next week. Oh no. Margot wasn't kidding. The girl's voice drops to a whisper. She likes flowers. Maybe the last one should be pretty. You hand over the penny. The girl skips off, placing the daisy gently in the woman's hand before darting away. The baker's wife stays at it, confused, then smiles, just for a second, before coughing into her sleeve. A red stain blooms on the fabric. Yeah, you're done with today. As dusk settles over the village like a damp blanket, you retreat to your hut, desperate for a moment of peace. But peace is a luxury the 14th century doesn't do. The second you step inside, something moves on your sleeve, a tiny, dark speck. Your blood runs cold. You freeze, barely breathing, as the speck hops. Oh no. That's not a freckle. The flea perches on your wrist like it owns the place, its little legs twitching with the confidence of a creature that knows it's the apex predator here. You have approximately 0.3 seconds to make a decision. Crush it. But what if it's plague-ridden gut spray into your eyeballs? Blow it off and risk it relocating to pants territory. Set yourself on fire. Increasingly reasonable. You opt for a 4th, Dumb choice, negotiation. Listen, you whisper. I get it. Times are tough. But my bloodstream is not the all-you-can-eat buffet you're looking for. The flea does not care. It jumps. You yelp, swatting wildly. And just like that, it's gone. Vanished into the shadows of your hut like a microscopic ninja. Congratulations. You're now in a horror movie where the monster is roughly the size of a sesame seed. You spend the next hour in paranoid vigilance, stripping off your tunic, shaking out your hose, and examining every inch of your straw mattress like it's a crime scene. Spoiler, it is. Then, a tickle on your ankle. You look down. There it is. This time, you don't hesitate. You smash your palm down with the force of 1,000 panicked ancestors. And miss. The flea lands on the floor, taunting you with its existence, before disappearing into a crack in the wall. Game over. You lose. Exhausted, you collapse onto your mattress, staring at the ceiling. Maybe it wasn't a plague flea. Maybe it was just a regular, run-of-the-mill, harmless flea that only sometimes carries apocalyptic bacteria. Delusion, the real survival skill. You close your eyes. Tomorrow's problem. The last light fades from your hut's single window as you light a tallow candle. Its flickering glow painting shadows that definitely look like grasping skeletal hands on the walls. Thanks, brain. Your stomach growls. Despite the day's horrors, you still need to eat. Dinner is the same as breakfast. Hard bread, now slightly softer from being soaked in the questionable well water, and a wedge of cheese that smells aggressively earthy. You sniff it. Is that blue? You break off a corner. The cheese squeaks against your teeth. Nope, absolutely not. Outside, the village settles into an uneasy quiet, punctuated by the occasional cough or wail. Then, a new sound. Singing. Ragged, off-key, but unmistakably joyous. You peer through the window slit to see a group of villagers weaving down the street, arms linked, swaying to a lute played by a man missing 2 fingers. The if we all gonna die, might as well get drunk first brigade. One of them, a woman with a wine-stained kirtle, spots you and waves a jug. Join you-yous, she slares. Baron Celebrook. So that's why they're celebrating. Nothing unites people like free booze and petty theft. You're tempted, until you notice the baker's wife among them, her face flushed, her steps unsteady. The same woman who was coughing blood hours ago. Yeah, hard pass. You retreat to your sad meal, listening as the revelry fades into the distance. The candle gutters, spitting smoke, and for a moment, the shadows move. Just a draught. Probably. You take another bite of bread, chewing slowly, when a scratching sound comes from the wall near your bed. Not the flea this time. Something bigger. You hold your breath. The scratching stops. Then, a tiny, whiskered nose pokes through a gap in the wattle. Rat. You lock eyes with it. It blinks. This is fine. The rat stares at you with beady, unimpressed eyes before retreating back into the wall, leaving you alone with your candle and the unsettling realization that your home is now shared housing. At least the rent's cheap. Outside, the drunken singing fades into the distance, replaced by the rhythmic thunk scrape of the night watchman's staff on the date road. You peek out to see old Jankin, a grizzled relic who's been guarding the village since before the plague, and possibly before the wheel, swaying like a sapling in a storm. All's well, he bellows, then hiccups. Wish. You open the door just as he trips over a chicken. The bird squawks indignantly and pecks his boot. Traitor, Jankin mutters, then spots you. You. He points an accusing finger. Why are you vertical? Decent folk read horizontal by now. Eloquent. You shrug. Couldn't sleep. Huh. He leans in, his breath a lethal cocktail of ale and bad life choices. Know what helps sleep? Not thinking about the fella next door who was fine at supper and stiff by matins. He waggles his eyebrows. Hypnotic suggestion. Ah yes, the original just don't think about it therapy. He rummages in his pouch and pulls out a dented flask. Nightcap. You eye the flask. The last time you drank something unidentified from an old man, you hallucinated for hours. Jankin misreads your hesitation. Oh, too good for Jankin's special reserve, eh? He takes a swig and wipes his mouth. Fine. More for me and me. He staggers off, singing a ditty that's either a lullaby or a drinking song. Hard to tell when every third word is hiccup. You retreat inside, blow out the candle, and collapse onto your mattress. The straw crackles under you, releasing a puff of dust that definitely contains at least one flea. Good night, future plague victim. Just as your eyes drift shut, a scream pierces the night. Close. You bolt upright. Another scream. Then laughter. Oh, just the drunk mob again. You exhale, but your heart's still racing. Sleep isn't coming tonight. Somewhere outside, Jenkins' voice floats through the dark. ALLs, belch, sorted, asterisk. Sure it is, buddy. Sure it is. The screams fade into the night, leaving only the occasional drunken shout echoing through the village. You lie stiffly on your mattress, eyes wide open, acutely aware of every rustle in the straw, every scratch in the walls. The flea is out there, the rat is out there, and somewhere beyond your hut, the plague is carving its way through your neighbors like an invisible scythe. Sleep. In this economy, you fumble for the apothecary's charm around your neck, the one with the powdered sapphire and questionable toad bits. It hasn't worked yet, but hey, neither has praying, and you're still doing that. You clasp your hands. Dear God, saints, whoever's listening, theology is flexible in times of crisis. I know I haven't been perfect. I once stole a loaf of bread. I thought about stealing more. I definitely judged the Baron a lot. But if you could just not let me die screaming with my skin turning black, that'd be great. Amen. Silence. Then, a distant thud. A door slamming. A body hitting the ground. Divine ambiguity at its finest. You squeeze your eyes shut and try a different tactic. Bargaining. I'll go to church more. I'll stop flipping off nobles. I'll even listen to Father Anselm's sermons without mentally correcting his Latin. Just let me wake up tomorrow. Please. A gust of wind rattles your door. Could be a sign. Could just be wind. You pull your scratchy blanket up to your chin, suddenly feeling very small. The candle's long gone out, but the moon slivers through the window, painting a thin silver line across the floor. You focus on it, counting breaths, until a scritch, scritch, scritch from the wall. The rat's back. You groan. Really? Now? The scratching stops. Then, as if an answer, scratch, scratch, scratch. Fine. Fine. New roommate. Whatever. You flip onto your side, straw crunching under you, and mutter into the dark. Just don't give me fleas. Okay. Somewhere in the wall, something squeaks. Truce. Sleep comes in fits and starts, each doze interrupted by the creak of a floorboard or the scuttle of tiny feet that definitely belong to your new rodent roommate. Just as you finally drift into something resembling rest, a sharp crack jolts you awake. You sit up, heart hammering. Another crack, this time with an orange glow flickering through your window. Oh no. You scramble to the door and throw it open. The eastern horizon is lit by an angry red light, pulsing like a wound against the night sky. Fire. Not just a hearth or a torch, whole fields burning. The air smells of smoke and something sickly sweet. Brimford, the refugees' village. It wasn't just a rumor. A figure stumbles past, one of the drunken revelers from earlier, now sobered by horror. Flagellants, he gasps. They are cleansing the road. Ah, the medieval equivalent of disinfecting with a flamethrower. You watch, frozen, as the distant flames writhe. The wind carries snippets of sound, shouting, chanting, the occasional scream. Then, a hand grips your shoulder. You nearly jump out of your skin. It's Widow Margot, her face grim in the firelight. Get inside, she hisses. But inside, unless you want to explain to a mob of self-flagellating zealots why you're not currently whipping yourself raw for salvation. Fair point. You retreat, but the image burns behind your eyelids even as you shut the door. The hut feels smaller now, the walls thinner. You sit on your mattress, listening to the distant chaos, and realize with cold clarity. It's getting closer. Somewhere outside, a child starts crying. Tomorrow just got a lot more complicated. The distant fires burn through the night, their glow painting your hut in flickering shades of hell. You drift in and out of uneasy sleep, each time waking to the same ominous orange light and the same thought. They are coming. But as dawn approaches, the flames fade. Whether from exhaustion or divine intervention, you don't know. The village settles into an eerie quiet, the kind that comes when everyone is holding their breath. You're just about to surrender to sleep when it starts. Hack, hack, hack. A wet, rattling cough from the hut next door. You freeze. Not again. Not now. The coughing fit continues, punctuated by gasps and a low moan. You recognize that sound, the baker's wife. The one who was handing out flowers just yesterday. The one who definitely had blood on her sleeve. This is fine. Everything's fine. Maybe she just swallowed a chicken bone. The coughing turns to retching. Then silence. Too silent. You strain your ears, waiting. A thud. A weak groan. Oh no. You should help. You know you should help. But the moment you step into that hut, you're exposed. And if she has it, then a new sound, the creak of a door. Heavy footsteps. A man's voice, rough with sleep. Marta, Marta. The baker. His wail splits the night. Too late. You curl into a ball, pulling the blanket over your head like a child hiding from monsters. But this monster doesn't care if you can't see it. It's already here, and it's next door. Dawn arrives like an uninvited guest. Too early, too bright, and dragging in a host of problems you're not ready to face. The baker's wails have subsided into a low, steady keening, punctuated by the occasional thump of something or someone being moved. You pretend not to hear it. Denial, still undefeated champion of coping mechanisms. You need oil, or possibly a time machine. The village stays around you, but the usual morning bustle is muted, replaced by furtive glances and hushed conversations. The tavern is, miraculously, open, though the barkeep looks like he hasn't slept in a week. You slide onto a bench just as a familiar voice slares from the corner. You. The drunken barber surgeon, a man whose medical credentials consist entirely of owns a sharp knife and hasn't technically killed anyone today, waves a half-empty tankard at you. I've been thinking about your humus. Oh, good. A diagnosis from a man who smells like a fermented foot. You eye the rusty lancet on the table next to him. My humus. Aye. He staggers up, nearly taking out a serving girl with his elbow. Why got the look of a man with too much black bile? He squints at your neck, and that, he pokes your, now healing, boil, is clearly a sign of congested spleen vapors. Ah yes, the medieval WVMD. It's either demons or spleen vapors. Possibly both. You lean back. I'm good, thanks. Nonsense. He slams the tankard down, sending ale slushing over the rim. What you need is a good bleed-in. He brandishes the lancet. I'll give YA the friend discount. Friend discount equals I'll only take half your blood instead of all of it. The barkeep sighs. Gerard, sit down before you stab someone accidentally. Gerard pouts but collapses back onto his bench, muttering about ingrates and modern medicine. You're about to make a strategic retreat when the tavern door bangs open. A boy, maybe 12, face streaked with dirt and tears, gasps. They are he. Silence. Then, chaos. The flagellants have arrived. The tavern empties in seconds. Tankards abandoned. Stools overturned. The barkeep vaulting the counter with the grace of a man who's practiced this exact escape. You're swept into the street just as the first thump-thump-thump of drums echoes through the village. Then you see them. A column of figures in tattered robes. Their faces gaunt. Their bare feet leaving smears of blood on the date road. At their head, a man with an Iron Cross brand seared into his forehead swings a whip studded with nails. Repent, he howls, and 50 voices scream back. Or perish. This is either a religious movement or the world's worst gym motivational group. The villagers scatter like mice, but the flagellants don't chase them. Instead, they drop to their knees in unison, tearing at their robes to expose backs already crisscrossed with scars. The whip man raises his arms. Behold, he roars, the wrath of God. The first lash comes down with a wet crack. The man doesn't even flinch. You, on the other hand, feel distinctly queasy. Beside you, Widow Margot mutters, amateurs. You gape at her. She shrugs. If you're gonna flagellate, at least commit. That one's barely drawing blood. Which confirmed. The spectacle grows more grotesque. Men and women sobbing, tearing their hair, rubbing ash into open wounds. One particularly enthusiastic devotee starts biting his own arm. Then, the whipman's gaze lands on you. You. He points a trembling, blood-crusted finger. Why do you not mourn? Oh good. Audience participation. Margot steps forward before you can stammer a reply. His Swedish, she says gravely. The whipman blinks. What? Doesn't understand your fancy Latin, she adds, nodding sagely. Genius. The mob hesitates, thrown off by this theological curveball. Then, from the back, a voice shrieks, the Jews did this. And just like that, the mood shifts. History. Always finding someone new to blame. The flagellants surge forward, but not toward you. Toward the well. Margot yanks your sleeve. Run. You don't need to be told twice. You bolt, ducking into a narrow alley as the flagellants' chants rise to a fever pitch behind you. The village is in chaos. Shutters slam, children wail, and somewhere a goat is bleating like it's personally offended by the apocalypse. Priorities, goat. Priorities. You're halfway to Margot's hut when you see her, the little flower girl from the market, sitting alone in the square, her posies strewn around her like fallen stars. She's humming. Of all the times to have a childhood obliviousness force field. You skid to a stop. Kid, you got to go. She looks up, blinking. But I didn't sell all my flowers yet. Capitalism, stronger than the fear of death. A roar echoes from the well. The flagellants have found someone to accuse. You don't wait to see who. Scooping up the girl, you sprint for the cover of the baker's abandoned stall. She squirms in your arms. Hey, I'm a businesswoman. You're a target, you hiss, crouching behind a barrel of, probably, rat-proof flour. She folds her arms. I had customers. Unbelievable. This child has the survival instincts of a goldfish. Across the square, the mob drags a terrified old man toward the well. Confess, they scream. Poisoner. The girl's bravado falters. Is that Master Eli? The village scribe, a man who can barely lift a quill, let alone poison a continent. You cover her eyes just as the first stone flies. She doesn't fight you this time. Somewhere in the chaos, a familiar voice barks orders. The Baron's guards finally doing their jobs for once. Swords clash. The mob scatters. When you peek out, the square is a wreck. Trampled poses, shattered jugs, and Master Eli curled in a trembling ball. The girl wriggles free and dashes to his side, pressing a crumpled daisy into his hand. Kids, they shouldn't have to learn this lesson yet. You start toward them, when a hand clamps your shoulder. You. The plague doctor's beaked mask looms over you. Come. The plague doctor's grip is iron, dragging you away from the square before you can protest. His beaked mask turns left and right, as if scanning for threats or patience. The little girl's voice fades behind you, still chattering to Master Eli about special customer loyalty flowers. Priorities. You twist in the doctor's grasp. Look, if this is about that one time I coughed near the tavern. Quiet, he hisses. His voice is muffled behind the mask, but the urgency cuts through. You're Margot's patient. She said you're clean. Which endorsement, the medieval equivalent of a verified checkmark. He shoves you into a shadowed alcove beside the apothecary. Up close, the mask is even more unsettling. The glass eyes fogged with breath, the leather stained with something dark, the beak stuffed with herbs that smell like a forest fire. Listen carefully, he says. The Baron's ordered a quarantine. No one leaves the village. No one. The classic lock the healthy in with the dying strategy. You swallow hard. And the flagellants. The doctor's mask tilts. What flagellants? A chill runs down your spine. Behind him, the square is empty. No mob, no blood, no stones. Just trampled mud and a few scattered poses. Gaslighting, older than you think. He grips your arm tighter. The real problem is rats. The Baron's offering a bounty. 2 pennies per tail. Ah yes, the medieval equivalent of a stimulus package. You open your mouth to argue, when a scream pierces the air. Not from the square, from the barber surgeon's house. The doctor releases you instantly. Stay put. Then is gone, robes flapping like a crow taking flight. You absolutely do not stay put. You follow the scream at a safe distance, sticking to shadows as the plague doctor sweeps into the barber surgeon's ramshackle hut. The door hangs ajar, revealing flickering candlelight and the distinct thud of a body hitting the floor. This is absolutely how horror movies start. Peering through a crack in the wall, you see the doctor kneeling beside Gerard, the drunken surgeon, who's now writhing on the floor, his face slick with sweat. His shirt's torn open, revealing a chest dotted with purple-black splotches. Oh, oh no, that's not spleen vapors. Gerard gasped something, his voice thick with panic. I only nicked myself. Just a little bloodletting. The plague doctor doesn't respond. Just pulls a vial from his belt and forces the liquid down Gerard's throat. Could be medicine. Could be poison. Could be medieval Four Loko for all you know. Then, movement in the corner. A child. A boy, no older than 8, huddled under a table, clutching a wooden toy horse. His eyes are huge, fixed on Gerard. Oh no. That's his apprentice. The plague doctor follows your gaze. His shoulders tense. Gerard wheezes, grabbing the doctor's sleeve. The boy? He's clean. Swear it. The mask turns back to him. Did he touch you? Silence. Then, barely a whisper, helped wrap the lancet. Game over. The doctor stands abruptly, striding to the door. You barely duck in time as he storms past, his robes brushing your hiding spot. Inside, the boy starts to cry. Gerard reaches for him. It's just a fever, lad. Just a... His hand drops. Some lessons come too early. You back away, heart hammering. 2 truths now burn in your chest. The plague is here, not just in the baker's house, not just in the shadows. Here, the Baron's quarantine just became a death sentence. Time to make a bad decision. The barber surgeon's hut fades behind you as you slink through the village, your mind racing faster than your feet. Quarantine, bounties, dead men and doomed children. Every instinct screams run, but the Baron's guards are already at the gates, their torches cutting through the dusk like warning flares. Spoiler, they are not there to help you. You need a plan, or miracle, or possibly a really large distraction. Widow Margot's hut is dark when you arrive, but the door swings open before you can knock. She stands there, arms crossed, looking deeply unimpressed. You smell like bad decisions. Accurate. You spill the story in a hushed rush. The barber surgeon, the boy, the plague doctor's convenient memory hole about the flagellants. Margot listens, then snorts. So, you want my help to flee? She gestures to the empty road outside. And go where? Next village over's already burning. The woods are full of wolves and zealots. And the Baron's men love target practice. Okay, maybe the plan needs work. She rummages in a chest and tosses you a small pouch. It clinks. You peer inside. Coins. For the road, she says. If you're stupid enough to try. Witch. Absolute witch. You stammer thanks, but she cuts you off. Don't. Just go before the doctor remembers you exist. A noise outside, boots on gravel. Margot shoves you toward the back window. Now! You climb out just as the door bursts open behind you. Exit stage, desperation. The night air bites your lungs as you crouch beneath Margot's window, pressing yourself into the shadows. Heavy boots stomp inside the hut, followed by the plague doctor's muffled voice. Where is he? Margot's reply is pure ice. Who? The Swedish boy? No idea. Bless this chaotic witch. You don't wait for the argument to escalate. You're already moving, darting between huts, keeping low. The village walls loom ahead, but the gates are swarming with guards. Plan B, the extremely illegal approach. You veer left, toward the tannery, the one place no one lingers, thanks to the eye-watering stench of rotting hides. The tannery's back wall butts against the village palisade, and the wood there is rotted from decades of urine runoff. Desperate times, desperate structural weaknesses. You're halfway there when a scuffle breaks out near the gates. Shouting, the clang of metal. A distraction? A miracle? Nope. Just two guards brawling over a bottle. Still, you'll take it. The tannery yard is deserted, the vats bubbling under the moonlight like witches' cauldrons. You grab a rusted hook from the ground and wedge it into the palisade's soft wood, hauling yourself up, just as a growl rumbles behind you. The tannery dog, a hulking beast with teeth like daggers and breath like death, warmed over. Asterisk, of course, the one-time medieval hygiene matters. It's asterisk now. Asterisk asterisk. It snarls. You freeze. A voice shouts from the gates. Oi, who's there? The dog lunges. You leap, fingers scrabbling at the palisade's edge. Wood splinters, and then you're falling. Onto the other side. The impact knocks the wind from your lungs, but you're out. The dog's furious barks fade as you stagger into the tree line. Freedom, and also probably dysentery. But hey, priorities. The forest swallows you whole, branches clawing at your tunic, roots snagging your feet, the moon a pale sliver through the leaves. Every snap of a twig sends your heart into your throat. Is that a god? A wolf? The dog? But the only pursue is the wind, carrying distant echoes of the village. A fading shout, the clang of the alarm bell, and beneath it all, the ever-present cough of a world drowning in its own sickness. You're not safe yet. Margot's coins jingle in your pouch as you stumble onward. The road, if you can call it that, is little more than a D-trail, winding deeper into the woods. Every shadow looks like a flagellant. Every rustle sounds like death robe brushing the undergrowth. Then, light. A flicker of fire through the trees. Not the angry blaze of a mob's torch, but the warm glow of a campfire. Hope or hazard? Place your bets. You creep closer, pressing against a mossy oak. Around the fire sit three figures. A hunched old man stirring a pot, a woman sharpening a knife, and between them, the flower girl. What the? She's alive, wrapped in a cloak twice her size, nibbling a crust of bread. The old man murmurs something, and she laughs, the sound absurdly bright in this grim night. Then she sees you. Her eyes widen. She doesn't scream, just waves. Kids, either brilliantly trusting or catastrophically naive. The woman follows her gaze, knife glinting. You. So that's where the girl got her survival instincts. You step into the firelight, hands raised. I'm not here to cause trouble. The old man snorts. Trouble's everywhere. Boy, sit down before you faint. The flower girl pats the ground beside her. We've got stew. Not this again. You hesitate, but the fire is warm. The girl is alive, and the road ahead is long. You sit. Tomorrow's problem. The stew is surprisingly good, thick with herbs and chunks of rabbit that are definitely rabbit. You checked. The old man introduces himself as Tom, a charcoal burner who got tired of watching idiots burn each other instead of wood. His daughter, the knife wielder, is just Mare. No frills, no patience. You like her immediately. The flower girl, Lissa, apparently, grins at you over the fire. Told you I had customers. Tom chuckles. She sold us a posy after we dragged her out of that madhouse. So that's how she escaped. Mare stokes the flames. We're heading north. Real north. Where the air's too cold for plagues and the lords are too poor to be stupid. Medieval Scandinavia, here we come. You wake at dawn, stiff and sore, to find Lissa poking your cheek. Up, time to go. Tom's already packing the camp, dousing the fire with practiced efficiency. Mare tosses you a water skin and a hunk of cheese. Eat. Walk. Don't complain. Simple. You can work with simple. The forest thins as you trek uphill, the morning sun painting the trees gold. Behind you, the village is just a smudge of smoke now. Ahead, mountains. Real, honest-to-God mountains. Their peaks dusted with snow even in summer. Lissa skips ahead. Her posie's long gone, but her voice still singing. Ashes, ashes, we all fall down. Some things stick. You don't join in, but for the first time in days, you breathe. The mountains rise like a promise, cold, clean, indifferent to the suffering in the valleys below. Your little band trudges upward, the air growing sharper with each step. Lissa chatters about starting a posy empire in the north. Meg grumbles about idiot children. Tom hums an old tune, his breath fogging in the morning chill. And you alive, against all odds. Despite the fleas, the flagellants, the barren stupidity. The path narrows, winding through stands of pine that smell like resin and resilience. Below, the world you fled is already fading, a patchwork of fields and forests, dotted with smoke from villages just like yours. Some burning, some already burned. History won't remember most of them, but you will. Lissa tugs your sleeve, pointing to a lone wildflower pushing through a crack in the rocks. Look, a customer. Mare rolls her eyes. Tom laughs. You pluck the flower and tuck it behind Lissa's ear. On the house. Small rebellions. Small joys. That's how we outlast the dark. The wind picks up, carrying the scent of snow and something like hope. You adjust your pack and keep walking. Wind down. The fire crackles low now, the embers glowing like distant village lights. Lissa's asleep, curled under May's cloak. Tom's pipe sends lazy smoke rings into the star-strewn sky. Somewhere far below, the world still burns. But hey, there's only the hush of the wind, the creak of ancient trees, and the quiet certainty that tomorrow is worth meeting. You lean back, letting the cold air numb your cheeks, the exhaustion pull at your bones. The plague hasn't won. Not yet. Not you. The last thing you see before sleep takes you is a single, stubborn star, bright against the dark, unwavering, just like you.